How do you start this video? Hey there everybody, this is Lee with Creative2xmom, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you my testimony. So this is one of those videos that's been on my heart for a while. In fact, about a month ago I actually filmed this video and I threw it in the trash because I didn't like it. I don't know why this video in particular has been so hard to film. But a few months ago, I started thinking about it and I realized that my Christianity and my faith is not something that I share a whole lot about on this channel. And I don't hear me wrong, it's not going to be every video that I post. But I started to realize that such a big part of my life was seriously lacking from what I share on YouTube. And when you guys see videos from me couple, 3-4 times a week, and you start to feel like you know me, and then there's kind of this whole other side of my life that you don't know about, I started to feel like that was just wrong. That was just not being true to myself and not being honest with you either. So as hard as this video has been to film, I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to do it again, and hopefully this one will get posted. So I have actually walked with the Lord for most of my life. I grew up in a single parent household. I was raised by my mom, and all my family, my extended family, she had several brothers, and my grandparents, we all lived within a very small town and very close to each other. So when my grandfather died at 5 years old, my mom and I moved in with my grandma. My grandma was my caregiver during the day while my mom worked, and so it made sense for the three of us to just live together and be together, and then I could be with my grandma and she could take care of me during the day while my mom worked, and then my mom could in turn kind of take care of the household with my grandma. So it ended up kind of being this mutual work together, multi-generational, which in my heart and mind, that is what I love. I love seeing families that connected from generation to the next generation. So I lived with my mom and grandma. Now my mom was raised in the church, and I remember about 5 years old being invited to a VBS program. I had these friends at school, and again, super small community, and they attended church, they invited me. And I can remember very vividly in my brain sitting in the front row of the church and the pastor talking about having a relationship with the Lord, what that looked like, why you might want to pursue that. And in my mind thinking, having this light bulb moment of course, that is truth. Like in my heart, that was truth. And so I raised my hand and they led us through the sinner's prayer, and of course contacted the parents and said, this is the commitment your child has made, and would you please talk to them about it and kind of talk them through what that actually means. So, and it's one of those things that people talk about, like kids can't make decisions, they don't know what they're doing, and on one hand I kind of agree with that. I don't think that we should treat our kids that they know the consequences of every decision in their life. But in that moment for me, now being in my late 30s, I can still go back to that moment in my mind, and I know that I knew what I was doing, that I had a real grasp. I might have not have known all the consequences of what I was doing, but I had a real grasp on that being a commitment for my life, and it has been a commitment for my life. Again, small community, raised by my mom, and we are attending church and following the Lord, and there were some things that occurred over the next couple of years, and some of the members of the church decided to start like a homeschool type, private school type co-op, and so I attended that church school from second grade on through 8th grade, and I felt like I learned a ton. Like that time for me was super foundational because I was learning academically, I was growing spiritually, I had these great mentors of other moms that would come in and help, of the teacher that we had every day, we had chapel once a week, and just for me, I thrived in that situation. I felt like I was learning so much, I was so at peace with the decisions that I was making and with who the Lord was and who I was in Him. I feel like that time was super foundational for my identity and my identity in Christ and being confident and knowing who I was in the Lord. From 9th grade through 12th grade, I attended a public high school, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, was a little bit of a tumultuous situation. I went from this small little private school of about 20 kids to a high school of about 400, which that's, I know, very small, but from 20 to 400 is a good giant leap for somebody like that. Also private school to public school, Christian school to public school. But I transferred over with some of the kids that I had attended elementary school with. So it was a good transition to still have that, a little bit of that support system. And of course, my mom and my grandma and, my family was very encouraging and very supportive. And while I was in high school, I just kind of jumped right back into more service type stuff at the church. I was constantly there singing in the choir, cleaning the church. I did puppet ministry, I did VBS stuff, I led Sunday school. That was my life, and I found so much joy in serving in the church and being a part of a greater group. It's something bigger than myself, if that makes sense. Of course, I was like every teenager. I played sports and I did homework and I had friends and I went to football games and I, did all that stuff, went on trips with my family. But serving in the church became a really big part of my life. And I found so much joy in just being of service. And I feel like that's one of the things that has continued on in my life. So after public high school, I felt like I really wanted to attend a private college. And there was a private Christian college about 3 hours away from where I grew up. I got great financial aid. Cannot say enough good things about the financial aid that I received because it was phenomenal. And I went away to college and decided to pursue education. I've always loved working with kids, loved teaching, and so that kind of became my career path. While I was there, I also did several missions trips, and that was where, that was just me. I did missions trips where I served with kids, and so being able to serve on the mission field and work with kids was amazing to me. I took 3 different trips. We went and supported and encouraged local missionaries that were putting on like summer camps for the kids, and I will link the site down below. It's called Little Lambs Ministry. So we went into orphanages, put on a summer camp, assisted the local ministries that were already on the ground there. That was crazy. All 3 of those trips were super life-changing, all in different ways, of course. The first one, I just was part of a team, and it was very eye-opening. I know about poverty, and I knew about all the things that were happening around the world, but it was super eye-opening to see it happening on the level where these kids were having to endure some of the things they were enduring. Second trip, I was a leader, and so of course that was a huge growth experience. And then the third trip, I was able to go back with my husband, and we served together. So each trip was very unique, life impacting in its own unique way. So like I said, I met my husband in college, and we got married, and we did, for the first few years, we got married very, very quickly. So for the first few years, we decided we didn't want to have kids. Since we'd had such a rushed engagement and dating relationship, we wanted to have time for just us. So for the first 2 years, it was just no kids. And then when it came time to have kids, like, it went from being okay waiting to like suddenly like, I need to get pregnant now. It was almost like a night and day experience for me. We had Noah about just over 4 years into our marriage. He was our firstborn. And that was crazy. But for me, like, it was so what I was meant to do. I felt like it was absolutely what I was meant to do, was to be his mom. And of course, a couple years later came Lydia, and a few years after that came Josiah, and I'm kind of skipping over some other things of just being involved in the church. But yeah, it's been primarily for me in the last few years, my growth has come from, again, teaching and working with kids, which has been a major theme in my life over the years. And now I'm teaching and working with my own kids. And I'll tell you, if you think you are without sin, just have children and you will realize how quickly your temper can come to the surface at times, how I've realized how type A I am and how I like things my way. I've realized how selfish I can be at times. So it's been this continual refining, challenging, very much so rewarding. But once I thought I had my life figured out, then I had children. So that's kind of where we're at today. I am not currently super involved in the church, although I think that in time will come back. I just feel like for now, my ministry and the thing that I can make the most impact is with my kids. Being the primary source of influence in their life and encouraging them, and them encouraging me and challenging me, and the Lord refining me through that. So that is just a little snippet of my testimony and where I'm at with the Lord. I just felt like I needed to share it with you. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'm going to try to include a little bit more of my faith in these videos. So if you have any questions, of course, leave them down below, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.